Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to put our science hats on and jump into the amazing world of living things with a super fun and fast quiz. So, you think you're ready? It's super simple. I'll ask a question, you'll have a second to think about it, and then, bam, we'll look at the answer together. Let's see what you've got. Okay, let's get right into it. Round one is all about what we call the 7 life processes. These are the 7 things that every single living thing has to do to be considered alive. We're talking movement, breathing, growing, all that good stuff. Let's see how well you know them. All right, first question out of the gate. How many of these life processes does something need to do to be officially called a living thing? Have a little think. And the answer is 7. That's the magic number. It's not enough to just do 1 or 2 of them. To be in the alive club, an organism has to do all 7. No exceptions. All right, let's switch it up a bit with a little comparison challenge. We all know plants and animals are alive, right? But boy, do they do things differently. So let's talk about movement and how they get their food. Okay, so check this out. When it comes to movement, animals, well, they move their whole bodies, running, swimming, flying all over the place. Plants, on the other hand, are a bit more chill. They move super slowly, like their leaves turning to face the sun. And for food, animals have to go out and eat stuff. But plants? They're like these amazing little chefs that make their own food just using sunlight. How cool is that? You are on a roll. Let's keep this comparison going. What about the next 2 big ones, making more of themselves, reproduction, and breathing? How do plants and animals get those jobs done? So let's break this down. When it comes to having babies, animals either give birth to live young or they lay eggs. Plants do it a little differently. They make seeds, which can then grow into totally new plants. And breathing, well, we animals breathe in oxygen, but plants do the opposite. They actually take in the gas we breathe out, carbon dioxide. Okay, last question for round 1. You got this. Everything that's alive makes some kind of waste. So the big question is, how do they get rid of it? And here we go. Animals, like us, get rid of waste by, going to the bathroom or sweating. Plants, they just release their waste, which is actually oxygen, as a gas right out of their leaves. Pretty neat, huh? You absolutely crushed that first round. All right, get ready for round 2, living or not. This is where things get a little bit trickier. We're going to walk that fine line between what's alive and what's, well, not. Okay, kicking off round 2. What actually is a non-living thing? What makes something non-living? Think back to those 7 processes we just talked about. And the answer is pretty straightforward. A non-living thing is anything that can't do all 7 of those life processes. Take a fire, for example. It moves and it uses fuel, sure, but it can't grow on its own or reproduce. So that makes it non-living. Okay, let's put that idea to the test. Can you think of, say, 2 things that have never, ever been alive? They've just always been non-living, from the very beginning. So, how'd you do? Here are some perfect examples. A stone you find on the ground, a spoon in your kitchen, fire, or even waves crashing on the beach. None of them can grow or reproduce or do any of those other life processes. Ooh, okay, here's a tricky one for you. A tree is definitely a living thing. We can all agree on that. But what happens if you cut a branch off of it? Is that branch still considered alive? And the answer is nope. It becomes non-living. The moment it's cut off from the main tree, it can't get water or food anymore. It stops all of its life processes. So even though it was once part of a living thing, it's not alive anymore. Let's think about the very start of a plant's life. You know how a seed can just sit there for ages not really doing anything? What does it actually need to finally wake up and start growing into a plant? It all comes down to 3 key things. It needs the right temperature, some warmth, it needs water, and it needs sunlight for energy. Once it has all 3 of those things, boom, it starts to germinate. It's really the magical beginning of a brand new life. All right, we've made it to the final question of the quiz. This is something you might even have in your kitchen right now. What exactly is yeast, and do you think it's alive? Believe it or not, yes, it is alive. It's super, super tiny, but yeast is a living microorganism. And when we use it to bake bread, it munches on the sugar in the dough and releases a gas. That gas is what makes all those little bubbles and makes the bread so fluffy and delicious. And just like that, you finished the quiz. You did it. Seriously, whether you got every single answer right or you just learned something new today, you are officially a science star. Awesome job. So I'll leave you with one last thing to think about. Now that you're a total pro, just take a look around you, right now. What living things can you spot? Maybe a plant in the corner, your dog or cat? What about all the tiny, invisible living things all around us? Thanks so much for playing along with me today, and as always, stay curious.